red wine soap, and there's lots of things online that you'll hear about people saying that you need to boil it off, you need to get rid of the alcohol, yada 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 yada, so on and so forth. And I'm going to show you today that actually that's not necessarily the case. As long as you're careful, you take your time, and you try and keep everything as cool as possible, and I'll show you the ways I will do that, okay? Before we really get started on this one though, what I thought I'd just mention is I'm going to actually be adding some citric acid, which is in this little pot here, into my soap. Now because I'm adding citric acid will actually consume some of the lye. So you do need to add a little more lye or sodium hydroxide into your mix to allow the citric acid to consume. The reason I'm adding citric acid is it helps with scum on the top of the soap. So it's really quite good to add that into soaps where you've got hard water. We're going to kind of disprove a few myths or falsehoods that you get around lye and making sodium hydroxide. So the first one is using glass. Now, glass is not necessarily glass. What I've got here is borosilicate chemical glass, okay? This is from a chemical supply shop. It's borosilicate. It's designed to be used with chemicals, acids and bases, of which we're using, and this will withstand the temperature change as well as the chemical better than, say for example, using a, I don't know, jam jar. I wouldn't use jam jars because they are not the same glass, they don't have the same thermal shock capabilities that this glass does. So when people say don't use glass, just don't use any glass. Borosilicate glass that's specifically made for chemicals you can use, okay? So that's number one. Now I want to make sure that when we were doing this, you could see that this was a new bottle of wine. So this has literally been bought today, okay? It's in a little plastic pot, but that's absolutely fine. Now I need 102.44 grams. And you can see here, I'm going to undo this on camera. You can see that that broke there on the seal. Okay, so it was a brand new bottle of wine. And I'm going to measure out 102.44 of this. .103, we're fine with that. And a little bit left in there for another bit, so we can get rid of that. And now I'm going to bring in here a little glass stir rod. Okay, I'm also going to bring in a little pot of ice. Okay, this is a little trick you can use if you are worried about the temperatures getting too high. You can use this, but I will show you that it actually, this is not necessarily needed, but it can help. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is take my my citric acid, and I'm going to pop that into here. Now, because this needs to be dissolved first of all, I'm going to pop it into my wine. Okay, I'm just going to make sure that that is all dissolved first. So just making sure that all of that citric acid is dissolved into our little pot here. Then what I'm going to do is just pop that into my little thing here. So we're cooling that, and we're going to gently add our sodium hydroxide, which I've got here. So a little bit of that goes in. So you can hear that going a little bit funny, and I have got a colour change, but we're going to keep going. Gently, slowly, don't try and overdo it. A little bit more. So that sound can scare a lot of people. I hope you can hear it kind of just boiling up, but we're just going very slowly. We've got our ice in the bottom there. I'm just going to add a little bit of water just to prompt a little bit more chill in the bottom. Listen. That's why you don't dump it in very quickly all in one go. You're always going to get a bit of a colour change. That's just the nature of what this is going to do. And the smell is interesting, let's put it that way. But I haven't taken any of the alcohol out of that. All I've done is cooled it. And now I'm not getting any of that hissing or anything along those lines. We're losing some of our ice, it's absolutely fine. A little bit more. Now, of course, when you do these sorts of things, if you wish to boil that wine down beforehand, if you want to make sure that all the alcohol has been dispersed, if you want to leave beer out overnight, do that. Okay, I'm not telling you that you shouldn't. What I'm saying is when somebody says don't, or you should always, you don't have to. You can do things slightly differently to the way they do it. I'd still have some fantastic results. Hissing has stopped, but you can see that ice is nearly gone. The other question that you might be thinking is, oh my god, that's gone really dark, I'm not sure what that's going to do in my soap. I'm going to work with purples, which I'm hoping this is going to kind of work with, but we might get a brown out of it because this is orangey, and purple, with obviously the blue in it, might go a little bit funny. But in my experience with all of these things, you tend to find that last bit in. Yeah, in my experience I find that it actually comes back to colour quite well, and if you use some nice strong colours, which we're going to be using, you'll be absolutely fine. So don't over worry, don't panic, don't over worry things like this. You'll be absolutely fine. You can see a few crystals just popping up on the side there. Let's bring this back in. Okay, let's get those ones up there. Last we need is kind of crystals of stuff hanging around. And our temperature is at 55, 53, 55 degrees. I'm going to leave that in the cool, just to allow that to come down a little bit quicker. Quick check, we've got nothing left in the bottom there. There's a little bit of stuff in the bottom there, so So we've kept the temperature down, which means hopefully we've not scalded it. Just making sure that we've got all of those last little bits and pieces at the bottom. Back into there just to cool the rest of it down. There we go. Nothing bad is going to happen if you keep the alcohol in your wine or your beer. You just have to be a little bit more careful about adding your lye solution. Okay, do it in an ice bath if you are concerned, or you want to just bring the temperature down a bit quicker. And you can use a borosilicate glass. Both of these are borosilicate glass, okay? So you do not have to worry about those smashing with the temperature changes because they are designed to withstand that. Okay, glass is a very good conductor. So you'll cool things down very quickly. So that's really coming down to the temperature I need it to be at, and we can work with that very soon. Make sure all of that stuff is included. And there we go, that is my lye solution with red wine, without boiling it, without doing anything with it, and that's now ready to go for our soap. Okay, so we are ready to go. Now I've got this neon purple, which is from a company called FizzWiz, and this is what we're going to give a go to. So I've got my base layer here, which is going to lay into the bottom of this mould. So it's going to be a very thin layer in the bottom, and then we're going to have our confetti layer on the top. So the first thing I want to do is add our neon purple, which is an absolutely stunning colour, but it's very strong. So I'm going to go with about half a teaspoon at the moment. Now, with neons, you do need to make sure they are well incorporated. So look at that absolutely astonishing colour from a neon. I absolutely love neon colours because they do cover a multitude of scenes. So I've got that one there. This is our lye solution for that. This is the red wine lye solution. We're going to pour that down our thing there. Give it a stir. So you can see that that really hasn't, it's maybe gone a bit darker, but that's fine because we do want a little bit more darkness in this one. This will bounce back as well, so don't worry too much about the colour change. It'll be a paranormal colour morph. And because of the alcohol in that, you can see how much that has really kind of thickened. Now that could be because of the palm oil, but I don't think so. That's really starting to thicken quite nicely, so we're going to cut our losses, get that into there. So you can see we really don't have a great deal of time when it comes to using alcohol. Alcohol will increase the speed that you need to work at. Let's get a slightly better scraper. Get that into here. Want all of this out, we don't need to worry too much about that. Okay, and we're going to just get that down into there. Spatula, and just kind of roughen that surface up. Get some divots and get some shape and texture and movement in that area. Like that, that should do it. The first thing we're going to put into here is a good kind of handful of our confetti bits. Some of the smaller stuff, all sorts of colours are going in there. Like that. Now, the more confetti you add, the more soak you're obviously going to get. But in order to get that to kind of sit in there really quite nicely, we're going to so you've got all those confetti bits going in there, which is great. We're also going to add a little bit of purple, but we're not going to add quite so much this time, so it's going to be a very kind of scant amount of that neon, just to see what kind of colour difference we're going to get. I'm also going to add a little bit of titanium dioxide, because I know this is going to thicken quite quickly. I can add a dollop of that, and again, before we add our lye solution, this really nice kind of pinky purple, which I just think is a beautiful colour. I am going to add some more of our scraps because I think it can take a good squidge of those, more of those. And again, this is called the Cigalia method. So what you're doing is you're taking those scraps and rather than leaving them whole or anything like that, okay, just popping them in, and we're going to get them blitzed in So all of those bits are just going to give us a really nice kind of feeling. Let's get these bits here in as well. Give that one last little bit. And then we've got our last little bit of lye solution that we're going to add by pouring down here. And again, because of the alcohol in here, this is going to go quite quick, but we've got a larger amount this time. So we are going to get a colour change, but it should morph back quite nicely. Very fast because I want to get this in and poured over. Leave that one there, bring our mould in, and you can see just how quickly that is starting to set. So that looks terrible at the moment. I'm hoping for a good old colour morph, but we're going to have to see how that goes. So we will come back tomorrow and see exactly what glory or horror we are going to have with our Cigalia confetti soap. So we're back the next day, and the observant amongst you may see a little bit of mist on our soap here, and that's because this has been in the freezer. Now this is an acrylic mould with no liner in it, and the best way of getting a soap to demould from an acrylic mould is to pop it in the freezer. So this has been in the freezer overnight. What we do is just pop our bits off. That's how easy it is with a acrylic mould to get the soap out. Hopefully this is now going to treat me kind. So we can see here we've got a little bit of discoloration around the outside, and that will probably then filter into this middle section as it kind of continues going. But you can see this is where we kind of had that kind of really naff colour, and you can see actually the pink is coming back in on the sides here. Just given a few days we will probably find that that just covers right over, and that's our confetti soap using red wine. And what's really interesting is you do get a bit of a smell off of the wines, and if you use a good fragrance oil and you make sure that you give it enough time to cure, you're going to get a really nice smell out of that with no additional smells coming off of it. So that's a really nice way of doing a confetti soap. So if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. It really helps me grow and allows me to make more videos and tutorials for all of you. When you subscribe, don't forget to click the bell icon if you'd like to get notified when a new video is uploaded. And thanks a lot, Soapsters. I'll see you again next time.